Little backstory. We have been together for 8 years, have 2 children, and are living at my parents' house. Basically in the country I live, Europe, quite a lot of houses are built in a way that allow for 2 families to live in 3 or 4 livable floors. We live at the 3rd floor and have an attic for 2 additional rooms. We mostly renovated everything and have a quite modern and nice place to live at. We do have doors on the stairs that somehow split our floor with the bottom one. What we are missing is a separate entrance. So my parents and us are meeting each other quite often. The issue. My parents can be a little annoying as any grandparents would be, I guess. My girlfriend hates that they ask questions about a lot of things, like where are we going, do we want to eat lunch/dinner, when we get back, etc. Also, the little ones sometimes simply go to the lower floor, to the grandma, when we do not have time for them, when doing household tasks like cleaning or cooking. Yes, sometimes the kids help, or they run downstairs if we do not let them do something, so they look for comfort at grandma. I guess the above 2 things do not sound so bad or alarming, but we are fighting over it a lot. We do plan to build our own entrance at some point, but I'm worried how will this solve anything? We are living in a countryside and are outside a lot. So my parents are often asking me to do or help them something like when I was 13. It started bothering me too. I know these are first world problems, but I'm noticing how will this affect my relationship with my GF. To be honest, I think my GF is overreacting a little bit, yet I understand her points. Are you living under the same roof as your parents-in-law? How do you deal with it, and how does it affect your relationship with TL. Doctor, my relationship with my GF is hurting as she does not feel comfortable living in the same house as my parents. You also need to remember that you feel at home around your parents. Your GF does not. She's an adult and probably finds them asking questions and inserting themselves a bit stifling. The questions they are asking are ones you'd ask if you were roommates, not people living in a separate self-contained unit. I think trying to find ways to actually live as if it's a separate unit might help. Can you add a separate entrance? Look, you have to do what's good for you, and I get there's cultural expectations here that may not be true everywhere, but as someone who stayed at my in-laws and did point that I can understand the frustration. As your girlfriend is a partner and mother of several kids, it can be infantilizing for her in-laws to want to know where she's going, who she'll be with, when she'll be back, like a high schooler. I think if there's a way for your family, i.e. you, GF, kids, to move out, that would be good. This is pretty much my current situation with my husband and his family, also in Europe. We are currently renovating the bottom 2 floors of a 5-story villa, with Nonna being on the 3rd floor and my in-laws on the 4th and 5th floors. My husband's family is lovely, but it's a lot to deal with. I share the exact same frustrations with the cultural expectations. It takes us an extra 15 to 30 minutes to leave sometimes, because we run into the whole family, including the aunt and uncle, that live at the entrance to our property. In-laws ask us to lunch and dinner every day. Random family members will knock on our door to ask us a question. So on and so forth. I just let my husband know when I need some downtime from his family and he will take a step back with me. Overall, we are very happy with the whole situation, because I knew what I was signing up for, mostly. Just allow your girlfriend to vent and try to support her the best you can. No kids, but I'll give some input from a relationship perspective. So my GF and I used to live with her parents, who were always nice and awesome. But there is something different about living on your own. My parents live a 15-minute drive away. I feel there's a difference between your parents seeing your day-to-day stuff vs them checking on you and asking you to tell them. I love my parents. I love her parents. But so many things are better since we moved out. Your parents aren't wrong. She's not wrong either. But try to understand each side. Sorry, I offer no solutions, just some thoughts. We just moved back in with my in-laws. They live in the remodeled basement. We live upstairs. Long story short, Phil is elderly, and he and Mill are super attached to this house for reasons my husband and I don't fully appreciate. Anyways, my dear in-laws are super nosy and still act like this is their home. For example, I was showering when my son was sleeping. She comes in while I'm getting dressed. BC she didn't think I was home and my son was alone at like 10 p.m. Yeah, we are gonna need to have a talk about boundaries. I suggest you guys do the same. She probably feels smothered and under constant scrutiny/supervision and therefore can't feel at home. Also, if your kids are running to grandma and grandpa, if they don't get what they want from you, that's undermining your authority as parents. If you can't move out, talk with your GF to see what she needs to feel respected and like she has her own space, and communicate that to your parents. And, most importantly, support her 10,000,000%. If you guys aren't on the same page, I guarantee she'll end up resenting you, and your relationship will deteriorate. Trust me. Lol. Good luck. I hope it all works out for you four. You're both 26 with 2 kiddos living with mom and dad. Have you stayed outside of the home recently? Vacation or staycation? Just you and your GF. You and your GF have been together since 18. Has she ever had any independence between you, your parents, and your children? These are 2 very important factors. I'm just going to go ahead and say it as it is. She's smothered. And probably has been for years. Solutions? Boundaries with your parents. Working together as a team. Get your GF out of that house every once in a while. Just you and her or just her. Either frequently or for several days at a time. And yes, a separate entrance. So reading between the lines, your parents undermine her parenting. And yours too. And you don't see how that's a problem. Also, GF of 8 years with 2 kids. Are you ever going to ask her to marry you? Get married? Remind your parents that your kids are your kids and you and your wife's decision should be respected. Remind your parents that you're both almost 30 years old and do not have to tell them where you're going like your kids taking the car for an evening. Just curious. The above things don't sound too bad. As a mother, those things sound fucking *AWFU. A lot needs to consider making changes, or his girlfriend is going to finally reach the end of her tether. Do you pay to live there, or is it free? It's free. We split the bills. For example, we pay electricity and parents pay TV plus internet. We have our own forest and we prepare the woods with my father. Your GF has little control of her life living with your parents in their house. For you it's different. They are family, you know them, you love them, you accept their faults. These are not your GF's people and you and her are not even legally married, so she could be sent packing with no recourse. 18-year-olds living with parents is one thing. But is this a long-term living situation? Is there any plans to live independently from your parents? It might work for some families, but not for your GF. If you've lived for free for 8 years, have you been saving for your own place? I could not live in this arrangement with my partner's family, honestly with anyone's family. It sounds like your parents don't treat you two like adults. That your girlfriend is undermined as a parent by them, and you do not have healthy boundaries with your parents. I hope you don't say things to her like, but look at all the things they do for us, or we can't afford to move out, or you're not being appreciative. Reverse the roles. Think about it. She's probably not overreacting at all, and you need to take her seriously, or you will lose her. I'm a childcare provider, and have multiple degrees in early childhood. Grandparents are horrible with boundaries, and from what you describe, they are totally undermining her attempts at parenting her own children. Ask your wife what will make the situation better, and then do that. If that means moving out, then move out. I mean, what have you done to solve any of this? There's not a single solution. This post just several mentions of fighting. Are there any probable solutions, or do you just tell her to suck it up? I don't know how to solve your kids going in between floors, but it definitely sounds like you need to talk to your parents about boundaries. And are your parents asking for reasonable help? Like with the house you also live in, or something that really only benefits them, like something on their floor? Is this the only way houses are built, or can you maybe just get your own place? Some of my GF's family lives in the same building as us, and I gotta say I will never ever agree to another similar living situation. They are very nice, and we have set a lot of boundaries to make things better. They also travel very often, so normally they are not here. That being said, I still think that couples, especially with children, need distance from their families. Even if you live in a separate floor which is technically your house, you're still in very close proximity to them, and I feel horrible for your GF if you have no plans of leaving this place. This actually sounds like big problems. You need to establish better boundaries with your parents. They have no right to ask about where you all are going, etc. Make a weekly date to have dinner together, or how often you two wish, so that they stop asking every day. They need to ask for help in advance, so that it doesn't disrupt your plans with your wife and kids. Grandma needs to send the kids back up when they come down unexpectedly, after being told no. I wouldn't consider living with a spouse's family long term for the reasons you've stated. Are you planning to move out at some point? Because if you are fighting over it a lot, and your reaction stays around what you've described, I can pretty much guarantee that you will be staying here, and she will not. We do plan to build our own entrance at some point. What point, exactly? Because it sounds like it's becoming critical that you have this. But I'm worried, how will this solve anything? Then at that point you would need to try and set boundaries with your parents and consider moving out if that doesn't have the hoped for result. If you can't actually do those things and you don't have any plan for moving out, then your relationship is going to continue to degrade. Time to move. Now just be thankful your GF isn't best friends with your mom. That SH@T is weird. How often do you two go away for trips? Just the two of you? How often do you guys do date nights? Just the two of you? How often does she get out of the house to see her friends, or take a class, or whatever, alone? If you guys aren't taking advantage of having grandparents on hand, what is the point of living with them if it's causing friction in your marriage? Did you ask her what she ultimately wants? Move out? Something else? What would make her happy about the situation? No house was made for two families. My late grandmother, a walking encyclopedia of wisdom. It's weird because my mom was in your GF's position. My grandparents live upstairs, separate entrance, been like this since I was born. All I can say, from what my mom told me, is that at first it wasn't easy at all, and they had to set some boundaries, such as my grandparents only came to visit after dinner a few times a week. I don't remember many details, because I was very young when they had more conflict, but I can say is it had its pros and cons. Privacy is limited at times, but on the other hand you have your family nearby, which is great especially on holidays and birthdays. It's certainly a trade-off you will make. And being with the in-laws so close by isn't always easy, but I'd say it's not the worst, depending on the relationship they have. I live with my in-laws in the backyard. I love it. They will let the kids run over. They play and hang out. I hang out. Literally just walked back inside after talking to my mother-in-law for like 30 minutes because my kid forgot his glasses there and I got distracted talking. Our neighbor's dog just got run over and the guy who did it, I have been saying, needs to slow down. We live on a dead end and we are the last house on our side right next to him and he races down here. However, just because I like it doesn't mean anything. I'm not your girlfriend. Sit down and hear her out. Don't argue. Don't talk back. Just listen and see if it can be fixed in a way she is comfortable living there. What 26-year-old would with children of her own would? Your arrangement is not bad tbh. What you need to do is separate the two households in the same house. Create some boundaries. Tell your parents they can only ask questions about your daily life from you, not your girlfriend. She should not be answerable to them. You can answer them as per your convenience. Maybe have lunch with them every day, but have dinner with your kids and girlfriend only. Ask your parents to not let your kids do things both of you don't allow. Kids can definitely seek comfort, but they should not overstep your rules as parents. Lastly, tell your girlfriend that you have talked to your parents and enforced certain boundaries so that she's comfortable living there. Also mention that kids going downstairs when you people are busy is very normal and not hurting anyone, but as you have talked to your parents they will not undermine your rules and parenting. I also live in a multi-generational household, so this is how I work things out. Europe ain't a country, homie. And there isn't a 3rd floor.